more days, girl, you know I will be coming home to your daughter. 3 more days.
Well, it's only 2 more days of school next week, but it was pretty close on that song. So 2 more days for next week, a short week. I know we're all looking forward to that. Welcome everyone. Schedule for the week. Monday there is a learning supports meeting. I see that we have the furniture replacement plan meeting after school for grades 4 and 5. And then we have on Tuesday, not a lot going on. So just a few things here and there. Oh, excuse me, we have a tech team meeting on Tuesday also. So a few things, but not a whole lot. Hey, first off, secretary. We know that Friday was Michelle's last day. Hard for her to say goodbye. I know she left right at the end of the school day, not because she doesn't care about us, but because it was just tough. So I know she will be missed. She was a great asset to our school. So I want to give you an update on where we are. We will be interviewing after school on Monday for a new secretary. There really is a pretty strong candidate pool. We'll have at least 5 people that we will be interviewing. In the meantime, Pat Palava is a paraprofessional that fills in offices around the district. She'll be filling in next week for Monday and Tuesday, and then the following week on most of those days. So we do have a short-term plan. Just keep in mind that if you have things to add to the conference conference room or media center, scheduling for that is going to be done by Kristen Thompson, so contact her. We will get through these next few days until we get a new secretary lined up. So please be patient. But the good thing is, I think we have a good pool, and I know we're going to find somebody that's a great fit for our school, and we have a strong interview team that's going to be helping me with that too. All right, moving on. District Instructional Supports. Last week, the DIT team met at the district level, and our representatives on that team are Diane and Becky Fry, and they came back and shared some things at our BLT meeting, our building leadership team, and here are a few of those things just to make you aware of. There's a lot about the winter math discussion. One question is, why are we adding on another test? A big reason for that is to allow us to have mid-year corrections before the end of the year to get some data and be able to look at that and say what are some things we want to look at as we move forward. There's a lot of discussion about why we're adding more testing, and that was the reason. We know that last year we as a district declined on MAP and MCA. And they talked a bit about what were some of the reasons for that. One of the reasons is student attendance. We know that we're really working on that this year. There is also some correlation to the amount of time on test. No surprise, if you take the MAP test for less than 15 minutes, odds are you're not going to do as well on that. Similarly, if it's more than 15 minutes, we're showing greater growth. So that's just one thing to be aware of, and we want to make sure that we're emphasizing the importance of the test and that we have a positive testing environment. That means we don't want to overdo it on that. I sure don't want to stress kids out for that, but we want to make sure that they understand the importance for that. But I'm going to say again, there's a lot of concern on the amount of testing that is taking place, and Diane and Becky both shared that. But the balance is, are we getting data in a timely enough fashion to be able to make any changes to our our teaching prior to the end of the year? So that's why we're doing that. Finally, you can look on here. You can see the winter MAP testing for math. It's only math is going to be on February 5th and 6th, and makeups will be on the 7th. We'll have that in the morning. I know we have some of our prep time for some of our grades that have to do that. We'll have that in the morning. I know that for our first grade, we need to also do that a little bit differently as far as scheduling that in the media center, in our computer lab rather, I should say. Curriculum reviews was another area of discussion. There are multiple curriculums that are being updated by state, whether that's health or science, and a number of other ones over the next few years. And as a district, we're trying to be mindful of that so that we aren't trying to do too much too soon all at once. So just be aware that's a part of the discussion, and trying to be mindful of that. Math implementation was also discussed, talked about progress, talked about how they can support buildings as we implement this new math series too. So a lot of rich conversations that were taking place at the district instructional supports. At district learning supports, there are a few different things that were discussed too. One was rides to conferences. We have some schools that have trouble getting parents in because of a lack of transportation. That is sometimes an issue here at Westwood, but not as much. I talked with Rachel a bit about that at our building leadership team, and if there are problems with that, we'll work through that. We know that there's a big need for mental health support, trying to figure out how we can provide more mental health training to our staff, to our teachers. I know that special ed has had a lot of training in that lately, but that's also a balance when we have other curriculums that we have to keep working on too. So one thing that was said was during ISD 271 Learns, there was some mental health training, but it had to be canceled due to lack of enrollment by staff. Probably wasn't a good time for that. So that's just something that we want to be aware of and mindful of, and figure out how we can support our staff who need that training to help support our students. Second Steps curriculum was also brought up. If teachers are interested, how we can offer training to teachers. I think more on a district level as opposed to just individual classes. Once again, we have a lot of different curriculums coming in. I don't want to be saying that that is happening, just something that was brought up. And maybe we can think about how we can support our teachers here at Westwood for those that are interested in doing some more of that within their classroom. Besides having Rachel do that. So I know she's done that in some classrooms, but there's only one of Rachel, so that makes it a little tricky too. Early release days, just a quick reminder on that. We will have 2 early release days coming up after Thanksgiving, and we will be ending school at 1:20. We will have normal lunch times. You can see here the schedule down below. For the first 2 early release days coming up in November, you will get a prep on one of those 2 days, a full prep on one of those 2 days. And when we have our second 2 release days in March, we'll try a different way of breaking that prep into 2 parts. In other words, you'll have basically half a prep on those days. So we're going to try both ways and see which way works better. Hopefully you saw the communication I sent out to families regarding early release days as a Connect Ed. Anything you could put in to families too to make sure they know that is important. I should have put it on here. I think it's a C day that will be our early release days for the 28th and 29th. I know that Maddie sent something out to all Westwood on that. So whatever that is, let's make sure that we're consistent on that. And just quickly, here's the schedule for early release days, or not the schedule, but here's what different people are doing. Instructional paras, I'll talk to you about where you'll be going because there'll be some training for you too on that. A little bit more on that too. Hey, I also want to touch on PBIS. Just a reminder, I think we know that the PBIS team is meeting 2 times a month, and we just completed our second 2-day training with our cohort, and we got a lot of work done. The first day was a lot more sit and get. The second day we went to it and got a lot of things done. We did some more work on the behavior matrix using your feedback. We added an arrival dismissal part on that. You can see that I have a link here to it. If you want to take a look at that, that would be good. You can see that there's less things in each box. Some of the feedback that we had is try to have under 3 things in each box because that just makes it easier for our kids to understand that. It makes it more simple. So that's hard because we were trying to do that, but also balance the feedback that we had. So please take a look at that. Take a look at the arrival and dismissal time. And I think we have a pretty good product. Doesn't mean we can't tweak it some more, but I think we're pretty good on that right now. Moving on to, we also spent time looking at an office referral form as a rough draft that we want to bring back to you and have you take a look at that and make sure that's clear on what we're doing with that. That would be the form that you would use if somebody needed to go to the quiet room, just to make sure that we're all on the same page with that. We also talked about teacher acknowledgement. How do we support our teachers and acknowledge all the good things that we're doing in our school? We've talked a bit about what we need to do for students. We haven't got that far yet, but we also want to make sure that we are supporting each other and building a real collegial, collaborative environment. And that often starts with us. And so that's one thing that we worked on, and we'll talk a little bit about that. We also had a little time to work on lesson plans. And if we are asking the matrix to be taught, we also want to make sure that we give you some resources to do that. So we really broke up into some different groups and got to it. We've done a lot of talking about PBIS. We're now at the part where we can start slowly implementing some of the different things that we've been working on. So a lot of things to share. Won't be able to share everything in our next staff meeting, but we want to share a lot and show you where we are. So excited about that. Well, that's all I have. Have a great rest of the weekend. Go Vikings, and see you for a quick, not 3, but 2 more days of school. Take care, everyone.